Hello, my name is Hinata Aoyagi and I will be presenting about animal migration. There are many types of migration, for example, natural migration, forced migration, partial migration, complete migration, obligate migration, facultative migration, irregular migration, non-cyclic migration, and multiple generation migration. But before we get into it, let me explain what migration is. Migration is animals moving Animal migration is animals moving to different places for food or birth or more favorable living conditions. Many types of animals migrate, such as birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, amphibians, insects, and crustaceans. Do you know a type of migration called natural migration and forced migration? Well, natural migration is basically the opposite of forced migration. Natural migration is not forced, so animals get to choose whether they want to migrate or not. For example, the animals in the zoo are migrated forcibly to the zoo. Forced migration is animals moving to different places even though they don't want to go. Sometimes animals need to migrate to different places because of people displaced by natural or environmental disasters, chemical or nuclear disasters, famine or development projects. Forced migration also refers to animals because of those reasons, and people migrate animals by catching them and then releasing them into a new environment. It can change everything including how animals act and the environment, because the animals are accustomed to that place and it will be a lot of stress for animals to live in that accustomed places. Also, do you know what migration pattern is? Well, a migration pattern is a tracking of large-scale movements of an animal species from a certain place to another. Migrations are usually tied to an seasonal changes in weather and feeding patterns, or mating and breeding patterns. If some members of a species stay in one place all year long but others migrate, that's a partial migration. An eastern gray whale set a record in 2015 for the longest recorded migration by a mammal, a journey of nearly 4,000 miles from Russian waters to Mexico and back. However, did you know that human activities can change migration patterns? Humans have tracked the Humans have tracked the movements of the animals by following their paw prints or stalking out their natural habitats. People still use that observation today, but now biologists also use stateless radio and GPS technologies that can track the digital footprints of, say, a herd of elephants or a flock of storks as they move across the world. At a time when both climate change and urban development are changing and disrupting the migration routes, there's a new urgency in these kinds of research. Deforestation is changing animal migration patterns. Many birds migrating from tropical regions realize that many parts of forest has been removed and this leads to destruction of their homes. So it forces them to migrate to a different place. Dams and rivers prevent fish from migrating upstream to lay their eggs. Some dams hope to mitigate this by using fish ladders or other infrastructure. Some people are closing the roads for the red crabs to migrate instead of letting the crabs be crushed by cars. The East African savannas are highly adapted ecosystems, so migration helps animals to trek in long distances and temporarily, unlikely resources across the landscape. This gives migratory populations an advantage over resident populations, and allows these populations to rise to very high groups. Animals may also move to breeding grounds to reduce the risks of predation and disease to their genetic health. Thank you for listening to my presentation and I hope you liked it.